It is the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. Matthew Rocky, Randy Karraker. It is great to have you with us on a Monday as we get ready for the NCAA basketball tournament, as the Cardinals enjoy their final off day of spring training before heading down the stretch. Still 10 days to go before the start of the regular season on Thursday, March 26th at Busch Stadium. Tickets still available for that. We're going to talk a little Cardinals. We're going to talk a little baseball. We'll talk a little WBC, and of course, the NCAA basketball tournament. It is one of Matthew Rocchio's times of year, especially now with your alma mater, Mizzou, with the team that you follow here in St. Louis University, with the best of those teams, Illinois being just a couple of hours away. I think this is going to be a really fun tournament, and I think it's going to be highly competitive. I fear the big man of Georgia for St. Louis University. You've always got to fear an Ivy League team if you're the Fighting Illini, and a team that was third in the ACC in Miami for Mizzou. There are no easy marks in the NCAA tournament, even as it turns out now, if you're a number one seed.
No, there are no easy marks in the NCAA tournament. It's not going to be easy for the Billikens. Stay for the back half of the show. We're obviously going to talk some Cardinals here to open things up. But back half of the show, we're going to dive into the Billikens. Got a great breakdown from Josh Schertz, kind of his first impression scouting report of a very athletic, very fast-playing Georgia team. So we'll hear Schertz talk about the Georgia matchup. We'll hear Schertz talk about why this is so important for him to get Robbie Abela in the tournament. Obviously, it's important for him as well, but that was his big thing. Really some heartfelt moments from Josh Schertz. And also, we're going to play a video that got my Twitter in a commotion last night as Missouri Tiger fans continue their quixotic quest and tilted at another windmill. So we'll talk about that later as well.
Okay, I like it when a quixotic quest is going on.
I don't get to use that very often, and I was really happy I got to right there.
The Cardinals with an off day, as we mentioned. They have only a few games left out in Florida. They'll play Springfield, their AA team, before coming here to open up against Tampa Bay. And yesterday, and I thought this kind of when I saw the lineup, Derek Gould thought the same thing at STLtoday.com, that the Cardinals are kind of giving us a glimpse into what the lineup is going to be on opening day.
Can we handle something really quickly?
Sure.
We did a segment on Friday, and we've already been wrong from our segment on Friday. And so we have to face up that we already got one of the bullpen predictions wrong. We rolled the dice on the lefty prediction, and we tripped up a little bit, but it's not purely because we read the how he's pitching tea leaves wrong. We got that right, but on Packy Naughton, Ali Marmol quoted in the piece by Derek Gould on Packy Naughton says, it's been a while since he's been in a season pitching, and being able to do that reliably is important. This is a guy I really do believe in, and my hope is that he's with us at some point helping us win ball games. His overall personality and demeanor and his presence is contagious. I like having him around. So it seems like less of a pure best call and more of a background reliability, fitness 100%. Kind of thing that forced this move. So we were wrong, but not entirely because we read it wrong.
Right, exactly. And if Naughton had the opportunity to prove his durability over the last year or more time than just spring training, then he would probably be here over Justin Brule, or maybe the way if things break down the way that, anything is possible, let's put it that way. But we've talked about the ability of Andre Palante against left-handed hitters. So if you're not going to have Palante in your rotation, then there's a distinct possibility that he makes the team as a specialist against lefties, in addition to being a multi-inning reliever.
It does seem like now that Fitz's control issues might push him out of the rotation and keep Palante in the rotation. As well, do you think, as we talk about things not just pure talent or numbers wise affecting decision making on the roster before we get into the lineup, which seems a lot more clear, do you think the Rule 5 factor will come into consideration, or how much it will shift the decision potentially on Matt Pushert?
Apparently, they've got a chance to put him on the IL.
Oh, well, that's convenient.
Yeah, that works out well, and start things there. I don't think that Matt Pushert will make the roster. I don't think. I think they like him, but I don't think that they like him that much that they would get rid of somebody else in their bullpen just so that they could stash him for the 2026 season.
Makes sense.
And I'm not so sure that they aren't going to go once we get into late April when they start that stretch of, I think it's 17 in a row and something like 23 out of 24 days. I would not be surprised, as it turns out, if they would go with a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, it's just the opening stretch. You'll probably, it looks like Fitz will be more of the hybrid than a 6-man rotation. He's not going to be a reliever, obviously. Long relief, emergency situations, and maybe gives him a chance to work on some control things without being exposed for more than 30 or 40 pitches at a time.
And he hasn't pitched a ton out of the bullpen in his career at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if perhaps he'll be utilized in a way where it's predictable. So the Cardinals will say to Fitz and the bullpen, look, this is Kyle Leahy. This 5th inning is going to be Kyle Leahy's last inning, regardless of what he does, whether he goes 30 pitches in the inning or 7 pitches in the inning. This is it for Leahy, so that Fitz can prepare more like he would as a starter, because starters usually take 15, 20 minutes to get warmed up and get ready to go, and they've got a routine. Relievers, you say, get up and throw me 8 pitches in the bullpen, and then come in here, throw 8 more warm-up pitches, and they're usually ready in about 5. So Fitz is going to have to adjust to being a bullpen guy, and I don't know that that's easy for a lot of guys.
Yeah, to your point.
And also from a health standpoint.
15 games in the major leagues, and he has started 14 of them.
Yeah.
If you go to his minor league numbers as we shift over and you look at his time in the minors, he had 80 starts or 80 games played, and he started 79 of them. Across his entire career, he did do a fair amount of relief work in college. 40 games in his college career, he only started 14 of them.
Okay.
So he has some relief work across 3 years in college, but it's
been a while.
I mean, it's 1 game in AAA, it's 1 game in the majors, it's nothing in AA, high A, or single A. So it is a rare thing that Fitz has been asked to do. And I don't know if that's maybe something that's going to help with his control necessarily.
Well, he's got 9 strikeouts and 3 walks. 3 walks is that's not indicative of terrible control.
Well, but the numbers, I mean, we got to look at it. Where is he placing the pitches, and where is he placing it relative to where he's.
And are the Cardinals are they
and things like that?
Do they seem? I have not seen the Cardinals express major concern about him.
Not major concern, but it's kind of like an expected thing where it's like, okay, this is kind of what we expected his control would be, and that's why he's on the back end of a rotation.
And a lot of times, especially in a situation like this, when you have a young pitcher who you're trying to get control, the way to enhance his command is to have him pitch more.
Exactly.
And let him kind of work through those issues. And I think the Cardinals are in a situation like that in 26, where they can allow people to grow as major leaguers, like they've done in the past with Palante or with Liberatore, and they're trying to do with Palante too. And if you think that he can do it, some guys just can't do it. But if you think he can, then give him that opportunity. And the best way to develop that command many times, sometimes guys never develop command. We have seen that before. But sometimes it's just a matter of getting the reps and especially getting your muscle memory down so that you can become more efficient as a pitcher. And that's going to be the key for Fitz. He's got to be, all these guys are going to have to be more efficient if they want to get the Cardinals to a 5th or a 6th inning.
Couple chess pieces still to move around in the pitching staff. But to your point earlier, it seems like we're getting a good look at the board for opening day when it comes to the actual lineup.
Yeah, and I think that what we saw yesterday, it sounds like Ollie wants to go with Mason Wynn in the 2-hole. And he likes Herrera. He likes to hit his quote unquote best hitter in the two-hole, which a lot of managers like to do in 2026. And I would think that that's something that Chaim Bloom would like too. But the way it's looking now, and there you go, Weatherholt, Wynn, Burleson, and then Herrera at DH on opening day, Gorman at third, Velasquez in left, Walker, Pajes, and Scott. Once Walker gets out of the lab, because they're working on his approach and they're working on his swing path and they're working on his decision making at the plate. Once he gets out of the lab, apparently he's going to be all right. So that's what you see there on the screen is kind of what I would imagine they're going to have on opening day with Matthew Liberatore on the mound. You see anything that you would change there? That's just my thought process right there. Anything
I'm just adding an ing to open. For some reason, I'm doing that right now. Yes, I'm making it opening day instead of open day. Okay. Open day is a golf thing, completely different.
Oh yeah.
No, I think the one thing I do want to hear from you in just a moment here, once I get the new graphic up. The one thing I do want to hear from you is a little bit more about the whole win at the two-hole thing, because we debated a lot about lineup construction, and we also have talked a lot about how this Cardinals team might just be doing things a little bit differently than some people expect. And right now, conventional wisdom in Major League Baseball's been pretty clear for, I don't know, the last, heck, it feels like a decade we've been doing this whole best hitter in the two-hole thing. It's like it's not a new thing. And so the Cardinals are kind of bucking the trend, going against it a little bit. And I do want to get your thoughts on what you think about them changing things up a little bit and going with a non-conventional, as it has been for the last decade, two-hole hitter.
I love it. I am of the belief that Mason Wynn, obviously last year was, well, not obviously, but hopefully last year was an outlier for Wynn in that he just didn't get on base the way that you would hope that he would. Last year, his on base was just 310, 314 the year before that. If you can get Mason Wynn on base about 32% of the time, 33% of the time, behind what you expect Weatherholt to be, then all of a sudden Burleson and Herrera become guys that clear the plate. So Weatherholt and Wynn set the table, and the next guys clear the table. That's the kind of lineup that I prefer. I like speed at the top of the lineup. I like the ability to put pressure on the opposing pitcher. And I think the Cardinals, if they would have a lineup like this, and the key is going to be Weatherholt and Wynn getting on base, but if those guys can get on base, they can run a lot. And I know that Chaim Bloom and Rob Serfolio are all about athleticism and utilizing the athleticism on their team. And I think that you could really do some damage, especially if you could ever get Scott going. Then all of a sudden, 9-1-2. If Scott is your nominal second leadoff hitter and he can get on base, and you would go Scott, Weatherholt, Wynn to start an inning with Burleson, Herrera, and Gorman behind him, that'd be a lot of fun. I think that'd be fun to watch if you turn them loose and let those guys run. But the key is going to be Weatherholt, who we don't know about at the major league level, although, as Bernie has mentioned, his on base is outrageous during the course of his college and pro careers. He's outrageously good. But the key for me is going to be Wynn becoming more of an offensive force than he's been. The Cardinals think he can be, and they, again, because of the meniscus last year, think that last year was an outlier. We know what Burleson is. We know what Herrera is capable of. And then we know what we all hope that Nolan Gorman can do.
Which is what are your thoughts on Gorman? That's somebody else. He's played a little bit better as of late. We've seen a little bit different. He's working on things. I was quick to buy into what he was working on last year. He's changing his approach a little bit. I know we don't react to things that happen in spring training, but nonetheless, we're seeing the power pop from him. We're not seeing it from Walker. Any reaction to that, any positivity, any thoughts about him as your 5-hole hitter, considering what we've seen over the last few weeks?
So Nolan Gorman was introduced to a mystery hitting guru by Nolan Arenado.
Okay.
And spent a couple of weeks with him during the offseason. And you would hope that whatever happened during the offseason this year sticks, because a couple of years he used his own person. A couple of years ago, used his own personal hitting coach. Last year, basically spent the offseason with Brant Brown. That didn't work out. So maybe he's finally found the guy. Sometimes you just find that teacher that you click with, and maybe he's found that teacher that he clicks with. I'm always excited about Gorman just because of his raw power. I want him to turn out to be good, because the Cardinals don't have a lot of people in their organization with raw power like he. In fact, they don't have anybody in their organization with raw power like Gorman has. So if he can find a guy that helps him get the bat on the ball, I'm all for it. I wonder if, and he wouldn't name the mystery hitting guru, but I wonder if it was McGuire.
Ooh,
because McGuire and Arenado.
How much would you love that?
Yeah, they hang out obviously in California at Nolan's warehouse in California, and now that McGuire is a consultant with the A's, he might not want the A's knowing that he has communicated with the Cardinals. So I wonder if that might be the guy. And some of the things that Gorman talked about from an approach standpoint are things that Mark McGuire preaches. So it's possible that that could be the guy. I'm total speculation here, but my hope is that Gorman, because of the new hitting coach, figures things out, and I hope that Jordan Walker does too. But I wonder if Walker might just be one of those guys that has a lot of athletic ability, and you think, okay, he should wind up being a really good hitter. But some guys are really good athletes and can't become hitters. Michael Jordan was never going to become a good hitter, and he's arguably the best athlete in the history of our era.
By what metric?
Yeah, ESPN vote.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was either he or Ali that I think they said was the best athlete. So I wonder, with all of this stuff that Jordan Walker has gone through, not Michael Jordan, but Jordan Walker, I wonder if maybe he's just a guy that has all of this physical ability and attributes, 6'5", 250 pounds, can run, can throw. He's got the entire toolbox, but doesn't have the ability to use the tools. I wonder if that's just, if he's one of those guys. Remember how we always used to jump on Randall Grichuk, say, hey, don't swing at that outside slider. Like it's an easy thing, but it's hard. And I wonder if maybe this part of baseball, hitting the baseball regularly, is just too hard for Jordan Walker. But he's going to be in there on opening day, and we're going to see a lot of him.
Something I was looking at, because we always talk about this. I was kind of surprised they were able to get a pretty good left-right balance and through the at least the first five, and then it kind of falls off a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it's really surprising that the Cardinals would be more right-handed than left.
Yeah, that's also the really surprising thing, I guess. But you get Velasquez
and no Donovan, no Newt Bar.
Yeah, no Donovan, no Newt Bar. The fact that the outfield, but with Velasquez and Walker out there, that really shifts things. Yeah, once you potentially, we were looking at like Newt Bar, Church, and Victor Scott all getting a lot of time. That'd be a lot of lefties. But now, Crooksy too. Oh yeah, is Crooks a lefty? Oh yeah, he is. You're right. Yeah, I always forget he's a lefty as well. We got some comments here on the potential lineup. Little Timmy's shoe lifts says flip Gorman and Velasquez. That's kind of maybe one of the reasons I was asking you about your thoughts on the trust that you have in Gorman going into this season.
Ollie likes to split the righties and lefties.
Yeah,
too.
That's a big part. I think that's a good reason.
So
that's why I threw it up there also.
So if you want to do that, that's fine. It's not like Velasquez has shown any more than Gorman to this point.
If it's a lost season, then hit Walker second and give him maximum at bats before they send him down again or trade him. If you're trying to win, then hit him 8 or 9.
I have no problem with that, at least off the bat. Now,
isn't the difference between at bats in what would be the 7 and the 2 spot? I mean, I think we're talking about at most like a couple dozen at bats across the entire season. Yeah. Like that's not a material thing.
Yeah.
To go against every other piece of lineup building logic. Like that's just not material enough.
Right. And the game has changed so much with the advent of the DH and the deep lineup. So as an example, Jordan Walker, I'm sure, grew up hitting third or fourth for every team that he played on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, should he really hit in front of any of these guys? And I don't think once you get past, like if somebody gets on base in the first inning and you're out after 4 hitters, then he's hitting third in the second inning anyway. So it really doesn't, I'm with you. I don't think it makes a tremendous amount of difference. I think it does make a difference for a guy like Victor Scott not hitting leadoff because he has his whole career, and maybe there's a comfort level there. But middle of the lineup guys, I don't think it makes as much of a difference as it used to.
I think that's a fair point. I like what we're looking at. I mean, it all changes. It all shifts around once Lars Nootbaar is good to go.
I don't think that there's a scenario in which I would ever hit Nolan Gorman second. Not one. And I wouldn't hit the back lefties at the top of my lineup either. So when you're talking about Weatherholt, Gorman, Burleson, which is what Joe Cooper is suggesting, I don't see a scenario where I would do that personally.
What was the scenario again? Sorry.
He would swap Gorman and win. So he would hit Gorman second. He would have Weatherholt, Gorman, and Burleson.
I'll say this. I would love to live in the reality where that decision could be made. I would love if we were living in a world where they could bat Nolan Gorman second. I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
If you got that good?
I dare say Shangri-La, if that was true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is not true, and therefore I have to agree with you when I say no, thank you. I would love Weatherholt and Gorman 1-2 leading into Burleson and Herrera 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoo! I mean, if you have Jordan Walker hitting to put him at 5, now you're cooking with gas. Now we're talking, but that reality is best case scenario. And I don't know if you've been watching sports in the 314 over the last 3 or 4 years, but banking on best case scenario seems like a foolish thing to do. And so I'm going to say that probably doesn't happen. And therefore, if Nolan Gorman does start hitting the ball, then I think there's a very good chance that his best worth of this team is actually batting cleanup in a much more classical look in the lineup.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's enough power hitting to where you're going to be able to move Gorman. If he's having a good year, I don't think you're going to be able to move him out of the 4 or 5 spot and into this 2 spot based on the other hitters you potentially have going.
And let me throw another thing here. Alec Burleson's, and I'm a guy that likes to let players play every day. I'm a 130 game a year guy. I'm not as much of a platoon guy. That being said, Alec Burleson's career OPS against left-handed pitching is 606. And Gorman against left-handed pitching in his career is not substantially better. So the thing is, I don't want the other team in the 7th or 8th inning to be able to bring in a left-handed reliever and have 2 easy marks back-to-back among your left-handed hitters.
All right, so we're going to break this down into a left-handed.
Yeah, I don't like to have, especially in the middle of my lineup, just don't love to have the left-handed hitters back-to-back. Now, Gorman, by the way, career better again, or not much better, about the same. 720 OPS against righties, 717 against left-handers. His slug, very close, 421 against right, 412 against left, a little higher on base against lefties than righties. So Gorman wouldn't be as much of an issue, but when you have a guy like Burleson, who historically has not been good at all against left-handed pitching, that's where I have an issue.
And here's the thing. And so what we're going to see then in these first 2 weeks, that's going to be really important, is if Nelson Velasquez can keep hitting, then there's potentially spots for him platooning against lefties.
Well, I think he'll play every day.
Yeah, I'm saying after Nootbaar comes back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm saying there, if he's able to seize on that with a good month of baseball, they're going to have to kind of be forced to especially if he's hitting lefties. We'll have to make sure his career splits actually go that way.
And by the way, that's another guy that if things don't work out for Jordan Walker in the first 90 games of the season, then you might, at least from a bat standpoint, Velasquez might be the guy that replaces Walker.
Okay, I didn't see this one coming. I was gonna bring up potentially another one with facing off against left-handed pitching. You mentioned Nolan Gorman.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something where Urias could potentially force himself into the lineup against left-handed pitching? But the problem with him is you go to his career splits, and Urias is actually better against righties as a right-handed batter than he is against lefties in his career. He's a 725 OPS and a 719 OPS. So you're not really getting an advantage, but he doesn't drop off against lefties the way that Gorman does. So maybe we could just see if these guys don't play well. If Gorman plays well, you obviously see what happens, and maybe you don't have to play the splits. But maybe we could actually see them play the splits a little bit.
I think Urias will get a lot of at bats, not like 500 at bats, but I could see him getting
719 against lefties.
I could see him getting 300 at bats this year for the Cardinals.
Let's see what because to your point, Nolan Gorman, we know that he falls apart against them mostly. His career as a lefty batting against lefties, Nolan Gorman.
Gorman's better than Burleson against lefties.
And actually, Gorman in his career doesn't have a bad split at all. 720 OPS against righties and a 717 OPS against lefties. Yeah, Gorman doesn't have really a bad split there. So maybe it's going to be interesting to see how many innings Urias gets. And it might be just one of those things where how much does Gorman let the door open?
Right. And, hey, maybe the new coach, the mystery coach.
Who is the mystery coach?
I don't know, but maybe that guy's got things going. So
how happy would you be if it was McGuire?
Oh, that'd be great. I wish the Cardinals would have hired Big Mac. I am not surprised to see all of those young Oakland hitters taking flight.
Chewy 1134. Could Joshua Baez replace Walker midseason if Walker doesn't figure it out?
Absolutely. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. If Jordan Walker has a horrible first half and Baez cleans up in AAA, I could absolutely see that being the case.
Yeah, he'll have to show maybe that he's able to work around the ups and downs of AAA, but yeah, it'll be really interesting. Skyboy says it's like 40 to 50 at bat, the difference between 7 and second. Is it that big of a difference? I guess every day maybe. There's no way it's 40 to 50 at bats. I did not think it was that big, but I guess 7th and second it could be that big. That's a fair point. It's probably like 6 or 7 at bats per spot. That's probably my man on screwing up.
But I don't think you hit him up in the 2-hole anyway. I think
no.
He's at best middle of the lineup, 4th, 5th.
Bubs wants to know if we talked about the egregious strike call from WBC yet. I'm like Albert Pujols. I'm not focusing on just one play.
Well,
that's going to be my take on the
You would have been 1st and 3rd, right? And it was egregious. But you know what? This is a guy that's watched a lot of CB Bucknor and Angel Hernandez in the major leagues over the years. It happens, and you just have to be prepared for it. Sure, you would have loved to it if you were the Dominican. You would have loved to have had the ABS last night, but you didn't, and the umpire screwed up. Hey, you know what? And Mason Miller, it's hard to hit Mason Miller. It's hard to call Mason Miller. I mean, you're 101 that sinks like that at the end, falls off the table. It's tough. Now, it was a bad call, no question about that. But as Ron Washington once famously said, that's how baseball go, and you just have to deal with it. And the Dominican and I thought Albert did very, very well.
Did you see the stat from CB Bucknor yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier last week? He had 3 calls overturned in the first inning of a game.
Shocking.
2 of them in the very first at bat.
Unreal. But one other note, by the way. And if the Dominicans would have wanted to complain after that game, I would have had no problem with it. But you know what? The Dominicans had runners in scoring position in the 4th, 5th, 7th, and 9th. And before the 9th inning, they weren't able to get that runner home. So maybe what their hitters need to do is not strike out so much. And by the way, the USA, they had those opportunities too, right? You had Judge and Schwarber strike out with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. So it was just a great game. I thought it was a fantastic game, and I can't wait to see whatever the championship is. I kind of think the USA will have a distinct advantage over Italy, although they do have Nolan McLean going, who got rocked by Italy last time they played him. And I think the Venezuelan team is really, really good too. I think it'll be fun. Okay, truth time. Walker and Scott have not hit this spring or last year or ever. I would disagree about Jordan Walker never hitting. If I'm not mistaken, let me double check here. I think he had a 787 OPS in his rookie year, and hit 16 home runs. Right?
Damn it! I just lost the bet with myself.
Why?
Because as soon as he said, I'm like, Randy's going to mention the hit streak. Damn it! I lost the bet.
Well,
you didn't mention the hit streak. You mentioned the OPS and the home runs first.
Well, it's 12 games. You don't want to judge a guy on 12 games, but 117 games, 465 plate appearances. You hit 276 with a 342 on base, 445 slug, 787, 16 homers. Man, that is offense a lot of teams would take. And then obviously had his little stretch there in last season too, and was never really given an opportunity in 2024. Victor Scott II has not yet hit at the major league level in his 1 year of Major League Baseball. So I would agree with you there that that is something that the Cardinals need to see. And if he doesn't do it, then they'll have to find a center fielder that can do it and play Gold Glove quality defense too. And you hope that they can find that next Jimmy Edmonds kind of guy.
We have another few chats here. The difference between batting second and ninth is about 100 plate appearances, so maybe 5 per week. That could be a lot in the All-Star break, and Walker needs a lot of at-bats. Second and seventh. Did you mean second and ninth when you said that, or did you say second and seventh is 100? Because then we got to scale it down to about 80 across the season, which is 4 or 5 weeks. It's just
and Walker is never going to hit ninth.
I just got to find this out,
right? So.
I know Fangraphs has an article about this, and I'm really just blanking on the number here. It being 6 or 7 at bats per spot in the lineup would make sense, and then you're getting to like the 40 or 50 you're talking about. I would have a hard time pressed believing it's more than like 60 or 70. Yeah. Hasn't VS2 changed his batting stance? Also, I bet that could help him.
Yeah, he has. He was
he the one who Ryan Ludwig got to work with at the end of 24,
right? And he was also at that Cressy Place with Mason Wynn during the offseason. And I wonder, I haven't really paid close attention, but hopefully he'll get that little leg kick back. And one of the things that Victor Scott has to do is not try to hit home runs. And Albert used to say, Albert was different. He said, you never try to hit home runs. Well, and then he did. He hit 703. I don't think Victor's going to hit 703, but like Colton Wong. Colton Wong was always trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark when he should have just been trying to make contact and use his speed, use his tools other than the power tool. And if the power tool comes, great. But Victor Scott is fast enough that, and I'm glad he's working on bunting. The tools that he should be working on are the speed tools.
So JC is going to force himself into the everyday lineup.
He has to force himself onto the team first.
Am I okay? So I might have come off like a little bit of an asshole when I said that he made a mistake going to play with Team Italy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still take the fact that, yes, I'm being an asshole with that take, but am I wrong?
Well, you're Italian.
I feel like I've been a little bit vindicated in my yes negative take that Saggese might have been making a not opportune decision to go sit on the Italy bench while a potential maybe not starting role, maybe Velasquez's power was always going to like give him the upper hand, but potentially a starting role on the table, and he never got his playing time, and now they're gonna put him back in the outfield as soon as he gets back.
I don't think the Cardinals envision Thomas Saggese as an everyday guy.
But that's true. But you don't think he lost? You don't think he still maybe missed out on a chance? And the fact that he didn't get to build any, that he didn't get to actually put any real at bats or tape together on the Team Italy
in his last week with the Cardinals, he's going to have to prove that he's better than Jose Fermin.
It's gonna be tough. That guy plays a lot of positions.
He got like 184 average.
Plays a lot of positions, Randy. All right, fine. I might still just be the asshole. Al Freeman says, why does Walker have to learn how to hit in the majors instead of the minors? Skyboy here with a good retort, because they need to see if Walker can hit MLB pitching, not minor league pitching.
That's exactly what they're doing. And I know that this is counterintuitive. You should have your best coaches at the minor league level, and then when the guys know how to play, you could have your lesser coaches at the major league level. Well, that's not the way it works. You've got 3 hitting coaches at the major league level that the Cardinals like a lot, and they want those guys, specifically Brant Brown, who was hired to work with Walker and Gorman. They want him working with Jordan Walker with the best equipment and the best coaches on a daily basis. And the Cardinals really don't think that there is much progress to be made now for Jordan Walker at the minor league level. He's spent enough time here that if he's going to turn into a major league player, he has to turn into a major league player in the majors rather than in the minors.
Yep, I think it makes 100% sense. Skyboy6767 said he had every chance in the world to win the left field spot.
Who did?
Thomas Saggese.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that.
Here's my thing about the Team Italy thing. Like there's a couple of very non-Italian things about me because I'm not super Italian. I'm not an espresso guy. Espresso, I should say. So I can't really get in on the whole taking the shots of espresso after the games and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Okay. It's just a fun little
thing. I haven't felt a connection to that team, Randy. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
The Olympic hockey team, I was vibing with the hockey team.
There have been 9 major leaguers from Italy that have actually played Major League Baseball. So they've got this strong, powerful, deeply rooted foundation of tradition in Italy. No. Aaron Nola doesn't strike you as the quintessential Italian guy.
Remember
we had Aaron Nola on the radio show.
As the announcers are saying, and some of the guys in Italy are saying, it's like people are talking about baseball more than they've ever talked about it before in Italy right now.
Yeah, they are. Yep, and that's a good thing. I think that there are. Rob Manfred is definitely globalizing this game now.
I don't know how people can watch. If you're watching the WBC, it's such a proof of why baseball's better when it's a little less stodgy than it has been in the past. And if I can take guys bat flipping and going crazy at home plate, I'll take that over Dallas Braden bitching at somebody walking across the pitcher's mound every single day.
Oh yeah,
every single time. That's been a lot. WBC has been a lot of fun, and I hope as they continue to do the WBC and it continues to get great ratings, I hope to see more and more of that spill out in Major League Baseball play. I know some people hate that, and that will always be the perpetually fun thing to watch baseball fans get mad about, is when people try to make things young and fun.
Yeah, let's make it fun. I think that's one of the things that has hurt baseball is the unwritten rules, the stodginess. I remember a few years ago, speaking of the unwritten rules, Kurt Schilling, I think he was with Arizona at the time. He was going against San Diego, and no hitter going, 1-0 lead, or no, 2-0 lead, 8th inning for the Diamondbacks, and somebody bunts for a base hit for the Padres to break up the no hitter, and Schilling went bananas because they broke the unwritten rule that you don't break up a no hitter with a bunt. So the Padres, they wind up only with 1 hit in the game, but they did bring the tying run to the plate, and he was mad that a guy bunted so that he could bring the tying run to the plate.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You know what's not dumb, Randy?
What?
Going to the Key Burger Bar and Boogie to watch some NCAA tournament games this week. You're going to be able to slip away from work if you got the kind of schedule that allows you to maybe change things around and go watch some tournament games. There's no better place to watch it than with our friends at the Key Burger Bar and Boogie down in the Grand Center Arts District. Give a little mojo to the Billikens. Get some food right down the street, corner of Olive and Compton. They're going to have a lot of great little bracket games as well for patrons who are watching games down at the Key this week. The second chance bracket, since most people's brackets get ruined by the end of that first weekend, for a lot of you, they'll be ruined by about 3 p.m. on Thursday. We're going to launch a brand new Sweet 16 bracket with our friends at the Key starting on March 23rd. So you're going to get a second shot at some bracket winnings, and the winner of that will get a reserve table and a $50 bar tab for the championship game. So right out of the gate, you're getting some good things if you can make some predictions after all the crazy things happen in the round of 32, and then, of course, once found of 64 and the round of 32. They're also going to have a Bust the Bracket drink special on Thursday and Friday. Every time a double-digit seed wins a game, they will offer an underdog shot for the first 15 minutes immediately following the final buzzer. So good time to be there for the games as they go. Get those underdogs, get a little, have some fun with some drinks as you see people knock down the big seeds. And they'll also have a third special going on called Beat the Bartender. I like the idea here. They're going to have a bartender's bracket on the wall, and anyone who has a better score than the bartender at the end of the round gets a buy one, get one voucher for their next meeting at their next visit at the Key. So just like that, the Key's got all the different ways for you to get involved. Get down there again at 3225 Olive in Midtown. The smash burgers are incredible. The fries are fantastic. They got all these kind of dipping sauces. Always go with the garlic aioli, in my opinion. And plus, you get down there on Friday. Don't worry, shrimp tacos got you taken care of from the fair side if you are observing certain things.
Okay. I believe that former Major Leaguer Doug Minkiewicz complained about the media on the old tweeter machine today. This is what he tweeted, and I have not seen a lot of the commentary about the way the USA won with the low pitch to end the game. But Doug Minkiewicz wrote on X, "It's a sad day when people who were born here and to make a living in this country actually make excuses for a team losing and hoping the USA doesn't win. You can cover the games without bias. It was a great game, showcasing the best talent in the world. It had everything. It had mistakes and everything in between. This is what makes baseball the greatest game in the world." To add to that, I was fortunate to coach a lot of the players representing their countries from all over the world. I wanted all of them to be successful. Good men who play the game with passion and genuine love for the game. That being said, finish this thing. So I guess he's saying that Cardinal fans who really have no dog in the fight, as Michael Vick would say, in regards to having a Cardinal involved with the game, he doesn't want Cardinal fans to root for, especially those of us in the media, Albert Pujols to win. I'm assuming that he wouldn't want people in San Diego to root for Machado and Tatis. He'd rather them root for the American team that doesn't have any Padre. Well, I guess it has Mason Miller now, but it really doesn't have a ton, not nearly as much Padre influence as the Dominican team has.
I'm not like, listen, I didn't know what the WBC was 10 years ago. You're not going to get me acting like I have some kind of stalwart national pride for an event that I didn't know existed a decade ago. So yeah, I'll root for whoever I damn well please. And right now, if I had my druthers, we'd all as a collective populace in the world just get to watch the Dominican Republic keep playing baseball for the rest of time. And I think we'd all be better for it. I think the sport would be better for it as well. So I love America. I want to see the Dominican Republic play baseball forever.
Yeah, they're fun. They're great. And I'm assuming that Doug Minkiewicz, who played for the 2007 Yankees that lost to the Cleveland Indians at the time in the playoffs, he's from Toledo, Ohio. I would assume that he would get mad at every single person in Ohio, including his parents, that rooted for him rather than the team from Ohio.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why not?
Come on, Doug Minkiewicz, be better.
We're not completely free of negative reactions. By the way, my favorite person in the WBC is obviously Austin Wells. He's having so much fun playing for the DR. Yeah, that's been fantastic. We do get Timo Renswartz, who says, "Go USA! It's the only decent baseball I have to root for." That is probably true if you are a Cardinals fan. There was something else that got people kind of excited, kind of going crazy on my Twitter, Randy, and that was the reaction to yesterday's selection show. And for some reason, people really reacted to this video of the Billikens watching and finding out about a seeding right before this.
Kennesaw State, Antoine Pepe has increased his win total all 3 seasons there for the Conference USA champions. We go to St. Louis, the 17, Miami, Jay Lucas in his first season as a head coach, an 18-win improvement, the largest in D1 this year, and they will face 10 seed.
That was the St. Louis Billikens had gotten the 10 seed and would be playing in St. Louis. And Randy, that video, me posting that was just a response. They did not see that coming. Really drove a lot of Mizzou fans to jump into my mentions and start clowning on the Billikens. Little brother. St. Louis is a Mizzou market first and foremost. A lot of comments like that surprised the living hell out of me, because as a Mizzou graduate, never in my entire life have I ever once thought, yeah, SLU's a rival. That's a team that I need to. That's a team that I need to throw shots at for some reason.
Missouri won't play SLU.
Well, I think there was probably back before the Schertz, there was probably a little bit of that coming from coming from the 314 every once in a while.
For my entire life.
But that's true. It has been a long. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
So every Billiken coach has gone to Mizzou and said, "Will you play us?" And they don't. They don't have only one person, and that was because Norm Stewart was friends with Charlie Spoonhour. That's the only time that Mizzou ever had the guts to play St. Louis U.
Yeah. So it was a really weird reaction. I just don't get it. It's not a rivalry.
It's not.
I'm confused by it. It would be great if Mizzou did it. It'd be better for Mizzou to service their number one fan market with a great basketball game consistently against a team that has a great fan base here as well. If Dennis Gates is going to walk what he talks, if he's going to get up and talk, if he's going to get on the mic after they get the St. Louis spot and say, "Hey, St. Louis businesses, we need your help with NIL." Well, then schedule something like a St. Louis match, a home and home, or a 2-for-1 if St. Louis is willing to do that. Because I do think Mizzou does have the leverage to get a 2-for-1 or find out some other arrangement that isn't in SLU's favor that gives a little bit of an edge to the Tigers. Sure. I can completely understand that. You're the Power 5 team, so on and so forth. But if you're going to start carping about how, like, hey, come help us out on the NIL, well, then help the market out and schedule these games,
Good
Dennis.
point.
And so I thought that was a little odd. And I honestly thought the SLU fans the Mizzou fans were coming at SLU saying they don't deserve it because they're admittingly, yes, weak schedule. The schedule thing is just so played out at this point. You can control your schedule only so much. You've seen now reports about the Miami, Ohio assistant who came out and said they called 70 teams. We know the situation with the Billikens. They tried to get Iowa. Iowa said, we'll scrimmage. And then Iowa said, oh, wait, close that. We're going to close that scrimmage. We don't want to see what people happen. 20-point win. And so that's the factor. And we see it now. Just look at how Dennis Gates scheduled Mizzou this year. Q4 wins and Q1 losses that aren't going to affect your schedule too much, i.e. what happened this year. Obviously, they got some good wins. There's no doubt about that. Of course, the Mizzou wins are all better. Every single one of them is big wins is better than the biggest of the SLU wins. That's not really a factor. One of them is one of the highest rated, most efficient teams in the nation against the schedule they played, and one of them was very up and down. These whole things are separate from each other. My surprise towards the Tigers and putting it there has very little to do with SLU and has everything to do with I was 99% in my head guaranteed Mizzou is an 11 playing in the play-in game. I wouldn't have been surprised if they got a 10 seed somewhere else, but getting a 10 seed and a home court advantage, essentially, that is what I think surprised me and a lot of people nationally.
Yeah, and I think that could be a 3 or 4 point swing against Miami. If the Mizzou crowd, and they should be pretty lubed up late at night, they should be ready to rock and roll. So hopefully they will be ready for Miami. I want to get back to Mizzou versus SLU because for a long time, Mizzou was not wrong in not wanting to schedule St. Louis University because we didn't have NIL. And when they were recruiting for St. Louis players, Mizzou knew that if they beat St. Louis University, they were supposed to. And if they lost to St. Louis University, it was a catastrophic event.
Yeah.
So that made sense. But now in the NIL era and with Josh Schertz at SLU and with SLU being a top 25 team this year, but the biggest reason is NIL, it shouldn't matter whether you win or lose to St. Louis U. I kind of think that for the most part, they're going to be bidding on different players anyway.
Well, SLU has to make that, though. SLU has to make that. SLU has to get to the point where it doesn't matter. Where Mizzou can lose the game and it doesn't torpedo their season.
Well, Mizzou's schedule, if they lose to St. Louis University, that won't torpedo their
now.
season.
But up until
ever in the SEC.
Well,
they're going to be as long as they're in the SEC, one non-conference loss will not torpedo their season.
But if your entire thing is we're only losing Q1 games and there's a Q2 loss to a mid-major, or SLU slips up and it's a Q3 loss, which was still a legitimate worry even going into this year. Now, once you see that, okay, obviously once Schertz has the team he has, this is real. I think to your point, it's safe now. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a Q2 loss. You can handle one of those, and it'll benefit your program in other ways. That's true. But in fairness to Mizzou, if that's a legitimate strategy that we're going to say, I understand why Power 5 coaches have to do it, and I do. I don't like it. I hate it. I'll criticize it, but I understand it. I can see why the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for the Tigers for a while there.
Well, then they shouldn't play any blood donors, should they?
Yeah, because
they should never play a mid-major.
No, Q4 guaranteed Q4 W's are fine, and SLU wouldn't have been that either. They were in that. That's the thing, is they were in that bad bubble after last year, where because of how talented Schertz is, because they had Robbie, there was a good chance they could bite you. But because of what they showed last year, even though all the injuries, but no one's thinking about that, there was a good chance that they could have been a Q2 or a Q3 team, and you just don't want to risk a Q2 or a Q3 loss. You want to schedule Q4 wins, Q4 dogs that you can win by 25, and then Q1 losses that you can take on the chin. And that's exactly what Mizzou scheduled, and it worked out. And so I don't think they're going to change that, which means you have to be a Q1 win or a Q1 loss that they can take on the chin. SLU's now proved they can be that. But up until now, that hadn't been the truth.
But then there should be like a large group of teams, if that's the case, that they should never want to play, correct?
Say it one more time for me.
There should be a large group of mid-majors that Mizzou would never want to play.
Yes.
The reason that they don't want to play St. Louis is because they're in St. Louis.
Well, no, that's one of the only reasons they would play them up until now, when the scheduling, when the Q factor can kind of.
But
play
because they
in
were
their favor.
recruiting the same kids.
They haven't been recruiting a lot of the same kids.
But they were. Historically, they have.
Okay. I see. But to your point, now it's not as much. Like the kid out of Principia, who everyone's going for now that he decommitted from Wake Forest. They are both going for him, but I do think everyone involved acknowledges that they're coming from very different angles.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in the past there was something to be said for Mizzou not wanting to play St. Louis University. Now, I don't see what the negatives are to play. And you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, things have changed enough where the negatives don't make a lot of sense anymore from the Mizzou side. Timo Renswart says, I don't know why Mizzou wouldn't schedule SLU in non-conference, since they play a bunch of low-level college wins. It'll help their rankings and draws a lot of money, because up until now, losing that game would have been a bad loss. Now, SLU's at a point where losing to SLU is no longer a bad loss. Losing to a SLU team as they were qualified when they're in the top 25, obviously, if they struggle next year without Avila, it could be. But right now, you set a new bar for the Billikens program where it's not a bad loss. SLU does play a bunch of low-level college wins. The point there is you're calling them wins because you know that there's a very high percentile chance they would win those games. With a Billikens team coached by a Josh Schertz, you don't know that, so you don't schedule it.
And it's not like Mizzou is scheduling schools that are similar to St. Louis University. They aren't scheduling Dayton. They aren't scheduling VCU. They aren't scheduling St. Mary's. This is the non-conference, aside from Illinois. This is the non-conference for Mizzou this year. Howard, I don't think that they're going to beat SLU. SEMO, VMI. They did play Minnesota. Give them credit for that. Prairie View A&M, South Dakota, South Carolina State, Cleveland State. You did go to Notre Dame.
Bad Notre Dame team that you lost to.
And then obviously you do have the rivalry with Kansas. Otherwise, it was Alabama, Bethune-Cookman, Illinois, and then you get into the SEC schedule. So there wasn't a school similar to St. Louis U on their non-conference.
Not even my point is that like the mid-conference teams that we know play a style that has bit them before. Like not even like a Santa Clara or a San Francisco. Like none of those teams are even on their schedule, because it might only be a Q2 game and it might very well be a Q2 loss.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to risk that if the Tigers. Again, I hate it, but you understand from Dennis Gates' perspective why you would avoid it. But then you add in all the other things we're talking about. If you're going to call to St. Louis businesses, then, play another game that involves the St. Louis market. Yes, obviously you're playing here every winter against Illinois at Enterprise. There's no reason not every other year that you shouldn't be playing in Chaffetz as well. I think that would be a nice thing for all the people you're asking NIL money for.
All right, Dennis, Josh, I know you're watching. I know you do. And by the way, Laird, Chris, I know you're watching too. You can really show me that you have some gumption. You can show me that you have some guts. You can show me that you have some desire to compete if you will schedule the Lindenwood Lions for 26-27. that will show me.
This is not your time, Randy.
And I'm in the show me state.
This is not your time, Randy. We're not worried about Lindenwood's schedule right now.
You aren't worried now, but just wait.
Damn it to hell.
Yep, it won't be long. You talk about going out and getting NIL money and making an NCAA tournament next year. Lindenwood Lions are on their way.
I need Earl or
Jets,
Rammer to swing in here and stop this.
They know what's coming. Just wait and see. All of a sudden, you're playing an NCAA Division I team that's in the tournament, and that qualifies as a Q1. So I'm just saying, if you want to show me something, schedule the Lions.
Sean Shannon says when the Billikens were playing good this season, they would have stopped Missouri easily. But Missouri was also playing bad when SLU was playing well. Both teams at their height, I still think it's almost a pick 'em because both teams at the height that we saw, still a pick 'em. Both teams at their absolute height of what I think their talent could take them. Mizzou's probably has a more just like hard talent cap than the Tigers, but at no point have I realized that cap. I think that the Billikens have gotten closer to theirs, and I still think, both teams at their height, it's a pick 'em.
I don't think that Missouri has come close to reaching their potential. That's what disappoints me about them is that Mark Mitchell has been their only consistent player all year long, and they've had they have a supporting cast, but it's like one guy every time. Very rarely do you have 3 or 4 Mizzou players playing well together at once. I can't figure it out. Really talented physically group, and I don't know if this is a coaching situation. I don't know if it's a personality of the team, but they really don't seem to get on the same wavelength and play well together at all. They might have done it 2 or 3 times all year long. And that's what you need to do to win in the NCAA tournament. Maybe they will, but it's one of the strangest teams I've ever seen because of that. Because like SLU had different guys step up and be great on a regular basis, but you always seem to have, Avila played great all the time. Thames played great most of the time. You had guys playing.
The only game where more than 3 players didn't play like a really solid game were literally the four games they lost.
Yeah. And Mizzou was the opposite. So SLU would have a bunch of players playing well and then another guy playing great. The Tigers would have Mitchell playing great and maybe one other guy playing well, and everybody else was down here. And it was just it led to a lot of really frustrating losses for Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get deeper into Missouri tomorrow and their matchup as we look at the tournament. Obviously, when it comes to Georgia for the Tigers, that's one piece of the matchup. The other one is they're probably playing Michigan. So it's a little bit harder to look forward. You got to.
By the way,
there.
the E-line, it's a Mr. Karraker dad talk. Yes, for Coach Schertz and for Coach Gates and for AD May and AD Laird Beach. Yes.
I'll be an ass. So rotate between SIU, SEMO, Mo State, and Lindenwood. Randy might say yes. I say no. I don't care. I just want Mizzou to play SLU. Sorry about the other ones.
Well, SIU was in the tournament last year.
That's true. They were. That was cool. And SEMO does get a game against SLU and Mizzou every once in a while. In fact, SEMO beat this year. SEMO beat SLU. Was that Travis's last year here?
Yeah, I think so.
I think SEMO beat SLU.
And didn't they beat Mizzou a few years ago under Kim Anderson?
I believe so, yes. Oh, God. That's why I find it hard to be really cocky about the Missouri Tigers. I watched the Norfolk State game, and then I saw the Kim Anderson thing that came years later. It's scary every time Mizzou's point guard Barrett touches the ball. Yeah, T.O.'s had some rough games.
You know what T.O. stands for?
Yeah, turnover. Yeah. He's electric. He gets to the paint a lot, and I like that. But we'll talk about the Tigers more. We're gonna close out today's show talking a little bit more about the Billikens, because after they found out about the Missouri Tigers, they did get a chance to celebrate their
in Buffalo, the AT, the Georgia Bulldogs, their most regular season wins and highest scoring team in school history. The 9 seed there is St. Louis, who jumped
gone to a tournament. In fact, almost all these players, first time they've gone to the tournament. Really, the only guys who have experienced some tournament time is that Ishan Sharmo's on a Virginia team that went to the tournament. He did not play on that team at all that season. And also Brady Dunlap, who went viral for a couple celebrations during last year's tournament, the one where he was on the ground doing the sniper thing for St. John's. So he had a little bit of tournament time, but no one really on this entire roster has ever really stepped foot on a court during the NCAA tournament to make things happen. That's going to be a big factor. In fact, let's get to Josh Schertz. This is his kind of first impressions scouting report on a Georgia team that is very athletic, very long, and plays very fast.
With Georgia, watching them, the biggest X factor is how awesome they are in transition on the offensive glass. I mean, they play so fast. They're the only team we played all year that wants to play faster than us. I mean, they're so athletic. They're so downhill. They are, at the 3, 4, and 5, huge, and they're awesome on the offensive glass. It just doesn't translate as much because they're in the SEC, which is a massive league anyway. But I'm so impressed with their pace. I'm so impressed with their offensive rebounding. They're a terrific dribble drive team. They get the ball downhill. And they do a great job of pressuring you and turning you over. Their defense creates a lot of their offense. So
early reactions. We're going to get to more of this scouting report, but I want to get Randy here kind of chiming in on Schertz's initial breakdown. When you hear that breakdown of Georgia, before he kind of gets into some of the thought process there, your first initial thoughts when you hear that breakdown of the Bulldogs.
Well, in addition to being fast, they're huge.
Yes,
like you said, they're long. They've got the 6'11", 260-pound center, Baby Shaq, who breaks backboards.
Yep.
He's kind of scary. Their backcourt is great, and they can. We watched SLU all year long, and we know what they can do in terms of shooting the three. Georgia's right there with them. So in addition, my first impression last night when I really started to look into Georgia was, okay, they are SLU with a monster in the middle.
Yes, that's the big thing. Santos Cyril is who he's talking about, the big 6'11", 260-pounder from Nigeria. All they do is run, shoot, and dunk. They are really the perfect version of today's NBA. One of the things when I say, hey, they dunk the ball a lot, do you know who one of the players they have on their team is? They have the son of Dominique Wilkins. So Neek's, so they have Neek's son. If you know Dominique Wilkins from back in the NBA, human highlight reel. All he did was dunk. He was not a very good shooter. His son, guess what? Dunks a lot. Not a very good shooter. Just like his papa. And everybody on this team throws down just some insane moves. Another one, the guy I'm legitimately scared about, sophomore Cannon Catchings from the famous Catchings family, famously of Tamika. Cannon Catchings is one of her cousins. They're going to get going crazy. Justin Bailey, Jeremiah Wilkinson, they have a really good guard group. Marcus Millender as well. They call him Smurf, by the way. They also have a guy named Blue. Billikens are playing a team with with Blue Smurf. I'm just saying. Let's get back to Josh Schertz. He continues breaking down this Georgia team.
And by the way, can I point?
Yeah, we've got a lot of
5 guys that play a lot that are shooting better than 32% from 3. They've got a 32, a 35, another 35, a 38.6, and a 39.3 from three-point range. That's pretty darn good.
They're kind of like the Billikens on steroids, if we're being honest. Like, and instead of a Robbie Avila, they just have a bunch of guys who can dunk the ball. So it's a little bit different. Here's what Schertz went on to continue saying about this Georgia scouting report.
Areas we've got to be good in. Certainly, hopefully, are switching, but I would say, our transition defense, we call them bookends, the beginning and end of a possession, our ability to guard in transition, to finish possessions, because they're great on the interior rebounding. They're great getting their threes back. They're so good at pushing on makes or misses. And then being able to guard at the point of attack, being able to move our feet and get collisions and crowds. The only thing we played that would be even an approximation is like VCU, which spreads you out and really drives you. The difference is, VCU has a driving 5 with Djokovic or Michael Bell, but their 5 is 7 feet tall and maybe the best shot blocker I've ever coached against. When you look at what they're one of the best shot blocking teams in America. They're so athletic.
So what they're facing off against, Randy, is the best shot blocking big that Josh Schertz has ever coached against. A team, to your point, that has multiple 3-point shooters all over the place. And what I was just talking about, a team that very routinely throws down highlight reel dunks. Not the best matchup for an 8-9, it seems right now.
No. Not really.
They're the fastest team in America, and SLU, as we've seen before, has multiple games this year where they've turned it over 18 times.
And I tell you what, and I think Josh Schertz, of these 68 teams on game day, he's probably going to outcoach 60 guys in terms of making adjustments, having a plan. But Mike White is probably one of the other 7. Mike White is, in addition to being a great recruiter, and he's utilized his NIL money well. They evaluate really well. By the way, Georgia's supported by that Morgan & Morgan law firm that's based in Atlanta, and so that's where they get their NIL money. But Mike White is a great coach too, a terrific game day move maker and adjuster. And so, and the game's in Buffalo is basically a neutral court, so it is a neutral court. So, the Billikens will have their hands full.
The E-line says, this is not a talent gap game. This is a fight. And SLU has proven they can win fights with the comebacks. It might not be a talent gap, but it's certainly an athleticism gap. It's certainly a length gap. And SLU doesn't have that much of a shooting edge. And so this is a really tricky matchup.
Yeah,
like
it is.
the thing that prompted this breakdown from Schertz, my question to him was, I was asking if SLU's switching could be one of the X factors, because going through a few Georgia games from early in the season, the middle of the season, and late in the season, I don't see teams switching them a lot. Now, either one thing is that teams are worried they don't have the athletes to switch them, or Georgia's really good at countering teams that switch them. I do believe that while Georgia does have better athletes than SLU, they are more athletic, a longer lineup, more explosive, way bigger. I do think SLU can actually still switch across their lineup really well. Like, the one thing is, we got a question here, who's deeper? Georgia's a pretty deep team. They have 9 or 10 players averaging over double-digit minutes per game. Most of those guys have played at least 30 minutes. Bailey, Abson are only getting 10, 12 minutes a game. Wilkins, Stagg, James, Ross. I mean, those guys are all coming off the bench. They have a very deep team. They can throw bodies at the Billikens again. And so, but the big thing is that if you look at Georgia's roster, yes, they're big and long, but you see things can match up. You throw a Paul Otieno, who is giving up a couple inches, and he can body with Samko Cyril. Cannon Catchings is 6'9". Amari McCautry is only 6'6", but he plays against 6'9" guys all the time. Justin Abson's a 6'9" player. They're going to have to get some big moments from Robbie Avila against him. They have, again, some other guys with really good size as well. Kareem Stagg, 6'8". Jake Wilkins, 6'9". You know what those guys are trying to do. Dunk the ball. I think one thing that the Billikens can do that not a lot of teams have been able to do is consistently ball pressure the combination of Millender and Wilkinson. Deion Brown mentioned that he actually played against Jeremiah Wilkinson, one of the more underrated players in the SEC. I think it's fair to say that he played against Jeremiah Wilkinson on the circuit. He said, I got to get a little revenge. His team beat my team a lot. But Deion Brown is a great 1v1 ball guard. So you can throw off Millender. You can throw off Wilkinson with a combination of Deion Brown and Trey Green. And then if you can get into the wings of Catchings and these guys with the Quentin Jones, who's 6'6" with a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. Like I talked about, Amari McCautry, 6'6" with a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. Kellen Thames, 6'6" with a 6'7" wingspan and plus athleticism. Those guys, Ishan Sharma, 6'5", but he can play up to about 6'7", 6'8" when he has to switch up defensively. All those guys means that you can switch consistently against this Georgia team. But if you hear what he's talking about there with the defensive, with the offensive rebounding by Georgia, with the fact that they're maybe the best transition team in the country, if SLU keeps making the mistakes they've been making, if they keep turning the ball over the way they have been turning the ball over, nothing else we're talking about is going to matter. They're going to get run out of the gym if they turn the ball over, because this Georgia team is going to capitalize on every single mistake the Billikens make. If they lose the possession battle, which they lost against Dayton by about 14 or 15, they will not be able to make the comeback like they did on Saturday. It won't be there.
Yeah. So they're going to have to play their game, and they aren't going to be allowed to have a bad first half, and they've had a lot of bad first halves lately. If you get behind Georgia, they'll take it to you. By the way, for the games here in St. Louis, there are still tickets available for Thursday and Friday, or Friday and Sunday, sorry. But there's Thursday practices, tickets available at Ticketmaster for the games, and the practices are open to the public are at 11 o'clock for Santa Clara, 11:45 for Kentucky, Tennessee State's at 12:30. Iowa State's at 1:15. Queens will practice at 2 o'clock Thursday, 2:45 for Purdue, 3:30 for Mizzou, and then 4:15 for Miami. And you can get more information. Just Google St. Louis Sports Commission, and all that information will be on the St. Louis Sports Commission website.
There you go. Follow me at ROCCSTL. I'll have a bunch of SLU coverage throughout this week as we kind of take a look at the Georgia matchup. I'll also be covering the Mizzou game in person coming up this weekend as well. Again, ROCCSTL.
And I decided I'm just going to stay home and watch that one on TV with that late start. Well, how late is that? Like
9:10.
Too late for me.
Oh my God. Yeah, probably gonna be 9:30.
Yeah. So
I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm going to dinner before the game.
Okay.
That's how late the game is.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So just if you want to learn more information about the action here in St. Louis, just go to St. Louis Sports Commission, their website, stlsports.org, stlsports.org.
And if you want to get some food before or after the games, you know where to stop. If you're on your way down to Enterprise Center, the key is right there on Olive and Compton. So if you're on your way down there, turn off, get some food. If you're leaving the games, maybe you go to one of the afternoon games and you don't want to buy the stadium food. You want to get a little bit of some burgers or tacos or fries going outside at a better price with some big TVs and a better atmosphere. Get on down to the Key Burger Bar and Boogie, just down in the Grand Center Arts District, the corner of Compton and Olive, down the street from Chaffetz Arena.
Wonder if Ashley Judd still follows Kentucky basketball around. I'm not sure. She used to, so she might be in town this weekend.
The reference has fallen completely flat on me. I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen the movie Double Jeopardy?
Not since it was on a Saturday in like 2003.
Yeah. Ashley Judd was a terrific actress and a huge Kentucky fan, huge UK fan. So I don't know if she still does. That's the show for today. Great job, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wilson got us on the air. I thank you very much for being a part of it. And we will see you tomorrow on the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. So long.